What's happening, everybody? It's the Jimmy Doane Show. We are live. Live people, not recorded, unless it's a different time when you're listening later.
You're right.
But if it's now, then that means it's 4 o'clock on Sunday or Wednesday. Today is the 19th of July, 2020. And so we're live here. This is the New York time. And we are in the studio here in our various studio spots. Today,
Our beach studio.
that's it. We're at the beach studio. So, you can find us around the web if you search for Doane. Jimmy Doane. So come find us. So what's happening?
All right, well, I'll tell you, it's going to be, depending on what you have, it could be a short day. Yeah, and I'll tell you one of the reasons I had to take my computer over to get it. It had slowed down to molasses.
Ooh, don't say it isn't so.
Well, so I put an SSD in it, and it turned out that the one of the reasons it was so slow was it was like defective. The old hard drive, you couldn't clone it, and the guy spent the last 2 days trying to get all my programs back. Got some of them, whatever. But basically I picked it up about an hour ago, and was supposed to put together. So I put together a couple of things. But as a salvation, it turns out in our mullet wrapper paper, we had an article that I will talk about today. This is a fascinating article. Now, this is before we get to the coronavirus and the other stuff. We'll talk. I've got stuff on that.
What?
I got coronavirus, I got opioids, I got, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that shortly. But right now, what I thought was interesting, this is fascinating to see the partisanship. This is a huge article. It's like, I don't know, this is a couple of thousand words, which is really a lot. And the title of this is The Cost, Hassle of Stamps, Question as Mail-in Voting Surges. What they're worried about is, this is what it is, Ohio, even if it's
stamp subsidy.
You're jumping. Excuse me. Do you mind if I at least get my own thing out here? It turns out, even if it weren't for her disability and her fear of catching COVID-19, Delinda Bryant is getting the necessary postage to cast a ballot this year will be a struggle. Now, this obviously is part of this voter suppression business. So here it is. You can have a mail-in ballot. You can do whatever you want. They will mail you the ballot, and that doesn't cost you anything. And then you send it back, and they're panicky because they don't have a 50-cent stamp. And they go on to talk about it.
Who's got stamps anymore?
Well, interesting. She said
who's got the change to get the stamps?
Right. That's right. We're out of change. What you can do, of course, is you can go over and get a book. Of 20 stamps for $10.
Right.
And what she says, who has $10? I got a utility bill, I got rent, I can't do that.
Right.
But I'm thinking to myself, well, you can still go over and get one stamp at Publix. You can go in there and...
But like you said, coin shortage.
Well, you get two for $1. Whatever. Anyway, my car needs transmission, but my utilities are so high and I can't afford it. I'm sitting there going, world's smallest violin. But I just thought that, the $10 for a book of stamps is a hardship. Okay, of course, the thing is, if you get the forever stamps, they're good forever. I mean, so what are you worried about? I just thought it turns out that that whether you have a stamp or not is now a partisan divide. The Democrats are sitting there saying no wonder voter suppression is because who can't get a stamp,
right?
And they're people that just can't make it to the post office, can't do early voting.
This is just the news trying to drum up some conflict, which is what they do.
Wait a minute,
and the best thing they can come up with is fight over the stamps.
I'm telling you, it is so ludicrous. Let's see. It also turns out that if you mail in your ballot and you don't put a stamp on it, they will deliver it. At no cost.
I was going to say they burn it.
No, there's a federal law.
Shredder.
Federal law
Right.
that says they have to deliver the ballots to the proper place. So you can just put in there no postage if you want to. More, and of course, what they're saying is, well, you know, if I have to put a notarized statement in there that I'm a citizen or something, maybe the envelope's going to weigh too much, and then I don't know how much to post it. Well, what's interesting is that apparently, also a federal law, that when you receive your ballot, it tells you on there what the postage is to send it back. And of course, it's 50 cents. I mean, normally, even if it's a large envelope like
Yeah,
that.
but it doesn't know how much to add in for your paper note.
No, that's right.
Is the paper note, is that what's required if you don't have the stamp in order to get?
Who knows? They're talking about.
Well, no, it can't be, because look, it's got to be, the general law has to be, look, if you get a ballot, you got to deliver the ballot.
Right.
And then I don't know what
Well, that's what
they send you a bill for the 49 cents or something.
No, what they do is they bill the supervisor of elections.
They mail you for 49 cents.
No, they don't. Well,
bill
no.
for
And
49
I thought it was 50 cents.
I don't know what it is.
I don't either, because I have forever stamps. So
Which are
anyway,
only
the
good forever
lawsuits
for now.
lawsuits have been filed in Florida by the Democratic Super PAC Priorities USA, and in Georgia by Black Voters Matter, and elsewhere the stamps constitute a monetary requirement akin to an illegal poll tax. Okay, 50 cents.
It's
is
it.
now
It's a
an
poll
illegal-
tax.
That's, well,
You're oppressing us.
that's right. Well, it's another impediment for poor people.
Right.
You can't afford 50 cents to send it back. And again, you don't have to. You just drop it in the mailbox and it goes.
Well, they don't know that. This article, people don't know that.
No, I understand. And I'm telling them, okay? Look, listen to me.
Federal
You drop it in
Shit,
there.
I didn't know that.
Charging money for the right to vote is unconstitutional, whether it's a penny or a dollar. I don't know about that. I mean,
Well,
unconstitutional?
Well, yeah, there's some precedent for it's because of what you just said. There's a ruling in the past because of a poll tax that said you're just suppressing people. Like you're not. The whole thing was set up. It was like it's like they say. Charging you for your license to vote or something like that. I mean, there's different things you can do. Look, it's all rigging the vote. And, there's still all kinds of gerrymandering and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
The good news about it all is, number one, it happens on both sides, so you don't have to worry
the
about it.
gerrymandering does, yeah.
Yeah, everything, all the stuff.
No, but according to this, all the Republicans can afford a stamp.
Right, yeah.
That's they're talking about. That's what they said here.
Right, they're richer on average or something.
Many voters lack internet access, and they lack a credit card, which is required to buy stamps online. One voter did not receive his book of stamps for 2 weeks. Well, I'll tell you, and so.
Well, if you do it the last minute.
Well, obviously, you're right. I mean, if you mail in your request for your stamps on the day that your ballot is due,
right,
you're probably not going to make it. Anyway, it's interesting. The Republican governor of Ohio has asked for money to put stamps on the return ballot. But the Republican legislature has turned it down.
Just have a no postage required thing on it.
I know that. I know that.
How hard
but
is that?
apparently, they are figuring that if they put a thing on there, no postage, if in the United States, what they're worried about is that they're going to get that the state is going to get charged for the stamp if somebody doesn't mail it in. And of course, that's not true. If you put a no postage necessary in the United States, you don't get charged until that letter goes through.
Well, you could certainly work it out so that you didn't get charged. I mean,
Well,
part of the contract. I mean, you just
Yeah.
say. So I mean, look, it's a non-issue in terms of the stamp.
According to these guys, it's a huge issue. That's my point.
Well, I think they're just trying to get the mail voting in the consciousness of people. If they're fighting over how much it's going to cost, then they've already accepted the concept that it's fine to do.
Okay, well, the amount is they're talking about in this one budget. I don't know what the Ohio budget is, but I think Ohio probably has close to 15 or 20 million people in it or something. It's on up there. We're 22 million.
Yeah.
We're 20. Well, even if it's just 10 million.
10 at least.
Okay. Well, they're talking about another 55 million or 150 million in stamps.
Actually.
So.
Well, look. so what? I mean, that's a trivial
No,
amount.
1.5 million, excuse me. 1.5 million. They've already allocated 1.5 million for some kind of stamps to when they mail out the ballots.
Right.
But now they're saying, okay, if we have to pony up for the ballots to come back,
Right.
that's another 1.5 million.
All right. So what do you think?
Well, I'm thinking this is what I'm like you. I'm sitting there thinking, if this is an issue, I mean, are you nuts?
So what about online?
Well, a lot of people don't have computers.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's an and thing. You know, it's not an or thing. It's not a, well, now we're going to computers only. It should be, if you do have online, if you've got online, and look, you said a lot of people don't have online. Sure, you're right.
That's to order the stamps.
No, I'm talking about to vote.
I know. Well, they're not gonna do that.
Why not?
For a while.
Why not?
You would. I'm not.
I mean, you bank online.
Yeah.
All of your banking right here, no problem. Why? How come you can't vote? How come the bank can keep track of exactly who you are, and you're the only one that has access to this one account?
Well, you say that, but of course, then you hear that 150 million people IDs were stolen out of Yahoo.
Yeah, but you hear about that, and look, it's rare that you don't hear about bank robberies like that.
No.
And maybe they happen and you don't hear about them.
Yeah, because the bank's not going to tell you.
Right. But I never heard. Nobody's ever told me. Well, my account got wiped out, and you know.
Well, and what happens? I can tell you. On your personal accounts,
yeah, you're insured. Anyway.
You're insured. You know, if you walk in there and say what happened, they give you your money.
Oh, they're super good about it. I mean, I got a call from one time. They were like, "Well, did you spend $400 at Liquors R Us last night in Georgia?"
And you went, oh, really?
Yeah, that's right.
I do.
Huh? Not me.
Well, somebody else, maybe. Honey,
right.
did you drink his money?
That's right. Exactly what I said, and they said, "Okay, then never mind."
Well, so anyway, they go through here. Let me just see here. Since there is also an added expense when the virus has ravaged government budgets, and they talk about the Democrats and voting rights advocates. They're the ones that apparently are all bent out of shape.
Well, yeah. Well, that's
and I guess what they at the end of one of the paragraphs here. You know what the final line is? Racism.
Oh,
it's
really?
racism.
It's racist.
It's going to lead to fraud and an administration issue. No, it's not. It's racism. She said postage requirements disproportionately affect people of color who are less likely to have the income, transportation, or time to obtain
these people
stamps.
Disproportionately affect things. I don't know why this narrative is still out there. Look, if an asteroid hits the Earth.
Well, they were also talking here about young voters who've never seen a stamp. How do they don't know how to use a stamp to do this? You know, they never used the mail or.
Well, look again. If you're incompetent to use a stamp, well, then you can't vote.
That's Miss Jimmy said exactly that. If you can't figure out how to, you got early voting, which I never had when I was growing up. You got at least 5 days here, even here in Florida.
If you can't figure out how to use a box and a check or
just anything, yeah, right, exactly.
There's a level, and
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I would guess that you might be able to request your now. They sent me a thing in the mail, and I had to send it back and put a stamp on it to request the ballot.
Oh.
But I don't know if you can request the ballot online or not. You're mailing back.
Probably, but still, I mean, so what else? I mean, this is it. They're worried about the stamp thing.
Yeah. Well, it says here just
nobody's even talking about online voting.
Said well, yeah, right. But I'm just what was funny about this, of course, was this is a big hoorah, and the bottom line is. The post office is required on ballots to deliver to the addressee. And so if you drop it in the mailbox, it's going to go and they're going to open it up and your vote counts. It costs you nothing. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to pay. You know, can you imagine? They're talking now, you know, if you had to take a bus trip over to vote, that's $1.
Right.
At least.
It costs you a day's wages.
Whatever. Exactly right.
3 times.
So if you can't, as you said, if you can't afford 50 cents, then you don't get to vote.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, look. Here's my thoughts on it, and I know a little different, but look, my thought is have the voting window be a month. It's the month of November. Okay, so then you've got an entire month to make your way over.
It's the month of October.
Well, whatever you want
It's
to
the
call.
3rd.
Okay, fine, whatever. October. Okay, and then we count it up by November 3rd.
Yeah.
How's that? Okay, so then make for a scary Halloween. So so then you vote, and you can do it online or through the mail or any way. Carry your pigeon any way you want to check the box. If you can check the box, and you only get to check it once, and that's it. Now that being said. Big deal. The reason I don't care too much is because what do you get to vote for? A person? And a person gets to do whatever the hell they want to do after that.
Right.
I mean, it's one thing if you get to vote for a citizen referendum or a constitutional amendment or something, and then it's a direct, okay, this is my direct opinion. But most of the time, you're just voting for a person, which is like so nebulous. I mean, how, do you think they're going to do? And they're only one vote in some other larger group.
Well, the big deal here locally is for the House seat that is being the federal House seat is being vacated by Ted Yoho. There's about 12 people running for that seat. That's the Republican seat. I don't know who's running on the Democrat side.
I think my friend Tom Wells is running on it.
Well, I have not gotten a card from him yet.
No?
I have gotten postcards from everybody, and everybody has
District 2, right?
Our voting district. No, I think we're like 23 or something.
No, his district, Yoho's district, whatever.
It's just Yoho's district includes a lot of Gainesville and a bunch of rural
North,
area and so forth. But that's for the federal place. Okay. Anyway, he's retiring, so to speak, and so a bunch of people. But what I've gotten in the mail are these huge plasticky postcards. Now, our primary is not for almost a month.
Okay.
And but so I expect to get mail every day. I've been getting mail from Publishers Clearinghouse because I made the mistake of writing them back.
Sent it in.
I sent it in, right? But because they buried me and stuff. But the point is. Everybody, I don't know if they clone each other's thing because they're all for Trump and they're all for Second Amendment. I mean, it's a big element, they're showing carrying a gun.
Their polling said, pitch these ideas. Well, it makes sense if you think about the Second Amendment thing with all the rioting and stuff. I mean, I've heard people on the left say that the Second Amendment debate is over, like they're conceding, because they're like, dude, I don't want to be at my home and call the police and have them say, sorry, we can't make it.
Well, no. Well, I was just telling Ms. Jimmy about this anyway. People are one of the arguments about defunding the police is who are you going to call? Well, I got a newsflash for you.
You don't call them anyway.
You call them. They're not going to show up for 10, 15 minutes, even if they haul ass. They're not going to be able. It's going to be too late.
Well, yeah, but not only that, it's even worse than that. I mean, that's best case scenario. That's assuming they show up and help you.
Right.
And what I tell people all the time is it's more likely they're going to show up and not be exactly on your side.
Right.
And you're going to have some splaining to do.
Splaining.
At least. And so it's very dangerous. But that is a consequence of the law enforcement situation that we've had for so long.
Yeah.
That has undermined the relationship between the police and the citizenry by forcing the police to arrest people for stuff where there's no victim involved anywhere.
Right.
And we could still draw a nice, bright, clear line where that is, and we could defund half of the police and fund, if you want to or not, a citizenry of technicians who ticket people for speeding offenses and driving.
Well, not only that, they were also talking about having, in a domestic dispute, to have a mental health person ride along.
Okay, see, now that's just bullshit. At some point, look, at some point the police are necessary.
Okay.
And there's nothing you can do. I mean, the point of a domestic violence call is not for you to solve the situation. It's to prevent the immediate violence that's happening.
Okay.
That's the problem is that we can't be a counselor and let's bring you to this class now and okay. That is for the society and the market to deal with. People have needs and that kind of stuff. All the cops are supposed to do is stop the killing, like that's theoretically, and because literally most murders happen in those situations.
Okay.
That's where your murder happens.
Yeah.
Is
somebody you know.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's usually somebody in the family.
Yeah.
And so I mean and it's just because they're close by, they're proximate to you. Humans, if they chafe every once in a while. So.
Especially now with everybody in the same house.
Well, exactly. I mean, I haven't seen any of the numbers on that kind of stuff.
Well, I got one. They said that and I'm going to talk about it here in a minute, that the opioid has skyrocketed.
Yeah, that I totally believe as well.
And of course I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I think that the opioid deaths typically are more than the COVID stuff.
Yeah, well, in the last
year.
few years, it's skyrocketed because of the fentanyl thing.
Right.
It's gone up like 600%. 10 years ago, it was like 10,000 a year, and then the last few years, it was like 60,000.
Right.
Which is comparable in terms of numbers.
Well, it's interesting because I'm going to get on that. I'm going to get on that here in a minute.
Well, in terms of the law enforcement situation, I mean. Well, I got some other law enforcement.
Okay, well let me go on here. Let me, as an aside here, I'm going to go out on a branch here just for a second because I had it. Is Bitcoin has not gone up to $500,000.
No.
And it turned out that John McAfee had promised to eat his you-know-what if it didn't reach
shorts.
Not exactly in his shorts, but not.
Oh, okay.
And rhymes with click.
Right.
And anyway, so that was 3 years ago, and today it's worth about, just so you know, it's worth a little over 9,000. So it has not, still far away from 500,000. So maybe next year.
Yeah. Well, now what I tell people all the time about Bitcoin is, I mean, its usefulness has been distributed among the other coins.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's lost some value in terms of its use. I mean, it still has a nostalgic value. I mean, all the values are always there. People, there's lots of value to things.
Isn't there some arbitrage though, that so that they're all worth about the same if you rate, that is to say, if you get the quantity of one versus the quantity of another, and one is one is like $50 and the other is 1,000? Isn't there another way, arbitrage thing? Because otherwise you could just sell one Bitcoin and buy a couple of hundred of the other one. And
well, it's like, yeah, that's how it is. It's everything is priced in every other thing.
Right.
And so,
well, mostly in dollars.
Well, yeah, and so you can trade and you can see, like you said, and you can trade between them, and so.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So anyway, the opioid overdoses have skyrocketed, and so the U.S. has seen more than 70,000 new virus cases for the second day in a row. But here's what I pulled out of this article. The U.S. total confirmed case count now tops 3.6 million. Okay, that's about 0.9% of the population. That's the number of cases. Now the deaths. It says 139,000 people have died. That's 0.04% of the population.
Okay.
Not much.
No.
And I just, but if you read the headlines, a lot of the headlines, especially the fear mongers are out there saying we're all going to die. And we had a guy that came out the other day, not Fiduci or whatever his name is, Fauci, whatever it was, but somebody from one of the organizations said, if everybody would wear a mask, we could be done with this in 4 or 5 weeks. And I thought, well, that ain't going to happen.
Well, how's that possible? I mean, all that would do is back it up for 4 or 5
Exactly.
weeks.
That's the whole point. If you have one person that stays home and is infected, and then you say, okay, now we haven't seen any more cases, and that person goes shopping, and suddenly the entire store of Publix gets caught up, and this is what's going to happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, unless they invent a vaccine in the meantime.
Yeah, but the vaccine, the way I look at it, they've already figured out that there's more than one COVID-19. And the vaccines are problematic, and they usually take about, a little while to come up with.
Well, I understand they're working on one right now. I mean, that is to say, I've heard that they're going to begin testing like the end of this month on some potential vaccine.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard another one that said October. Another one they said by the end of the year. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But you know,
Well,
when are they gonna? When are we gonna go into a restaurant with other people?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, we don't know. Look, what's happened obviously in the last couple of weeks is more confusion.
Right,
That
more
is to
confusion.
say, you know, the infection rate has gone up substantially. The 7-day rolling average.
But that's in not every place. They said here in New York, it's actually it's dropped. Everybody got
infection
sick
rate?
already. Yeah. What they said is the situation, meanwhile, continues to improve in New York. Governor Andrew Cuomo announced Saturday, you know, like yesterday, that the state has now seen its lowest hospitalizations, 743 since mid-March, or whatever it is. He said Friday that New York City, once the epicenter, has now been cleared to enter its final phase of reopening on Monday, tomorrow.
Well, maybe they've reached their herd immunity.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm thinking.
And Sweden looks the same as that. I mean, it's a downward trend in all areas. So, that totally makes sense. I mean, that jives with some of the models, which is, look, like you said, there were places that locked away their sick people for a little while. When they release people back out, there's a second spike. We should see that. All we're waiting to see now is, and we found this in the next 10 days or so, which is, do the current spike in infections result in hospitalizations and or deaths? And if they do is there a new trend and growing trend in infections? Does that continue over the next 2 weeks while we observe the hospitalizations and deaths rate? So, because if the infections continue to skyrocket as they have in the last 5 days or so, I mean, if it keeps going up, then that may change the dynamic again. If it levels off or kicks off, then when we'll see.
Yeah.
But,
Well, a lot of it.
we're back in limbo, basically.
Well, but a lot of this, the fearmonger people say that every time there's a little jump or something like that, now we're really on it again. Phase 2, 3s, whatever. We're all going to die now.
Well, you know, I don't mind the fear mongering because I'll tell you why. Because it's a little silly, and think of it as a little bit juvenile. It's like
I think.
yeah.
I agree.
But if it scares some people into wearing a mask or doing something or staying home or whatever, not a big deal. People should see it for what it is. That I think the adults will look at that and say, okay, they're fear mongering. Then they're obviously, you know, the people who are out there saying, "Fuck you, wear your mask, you fucking out," you know, you're killing, you know, those people, you know, settle down, okay? Because
They don't want to hear it. Well, I'll tell you
well, look, at the end of the day, this thing is not a super deadly pandemic virus type situation. It's just not. I
Well,
mean,
yeah. Look,
it hasn't killed 10% of the people or anything like that.
0.04%. So
Right,
far.
right, and look, that number has been dropping and dropping and dropping, and it may continue to drop if they figure out that a whole bunch of people were infected without symptoms. So I mean, it may continue to go and plunge ultimately below the flu in terms of its deadliness, and then it's a question of, okay, well, what did we do? What did we accomplish? I mean, out there's a bunch of vulnerable old people, and then that's about it. And in terms,
I want to know what they're going to do. At what point are they going to issue the all clear? You can now open up your restaurant. You can go to your gym. Blah blah blah. Are they?
Well,
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how long they hold on to that particular mantra.
well, I don't think there'll be any. There's some election impetus to hold on to that.
Yeah.
That is, I think some political people want to hold on to the tragedy. Yeah,
I'm sure.
But for the most part, people want to get back to normal. I mean, sure, there are some burn it all down people out there. Let it starve on the vine, kill the capitalism type people.
Right.
But I think that they're a fringe group. I mean, you know, unfortunately, there's now a whole bunch of government workers who are getting paid to stay home.
Yeah.
And that's
well. It turns out that the $600 PPP thing or whatever it was expires at the end of this month.
well, that's just the unemployment.
Right.
Okay. Now, so that'll be interesting. Look, there's all kinds of crazy effects that are still coming down the pipe here that we haven't seen. And I mean, There's another huge one that I want to discuss, and that is the schools.
I agree with you. The schools, what are they going to do about the schools? Here, they haven't figured it out at all yet.
Well, no, and it's because if you think about it, it's because nobody has decided who's in charge exactly. Because they have overlapping levels of jurisdiction in the situation.
Okay.
Because at the one level, you could say, well, I mean, the federal government could declare a national emergency and decide to issue a stay-at-home order nationwide. Everybody stays at home, no schools. That's it.
Well, I suppose they might be able to issue you'll have to go to school order, of course.
Well, that's what they're acting like Trump is issuing when he says he wants the schools open. They're actually issuing like a shall attend order,
Yeah.
you know? And if you think about it, there is some shall attend language at the local level. You're supposed to send your kid to school, like if they open up.
Otherwise, they will send a truant officer around.
Theoretically.
They will clap you in irons if you don't send your.
Well, they have in the past.
Right.
And
but
one
now,
wonders,
of course, what if the teachers say, "I'm not going in there"?
well, that's what I'm saying. Do you? And so these are all problems that are associated with centralization. If all of the responsibility was decentralized among responsible adults like principals of schools, things like people who could make their own decisions about this, then you would have individual decisions at individual schools based on how they're going to open up, what they think is safe. And they would be doing it, and the parents could decide, do I send my kid to this school or that school? But it's too late because the money's already spent. They already took the money from the parents and spent it on the teachers and the administrators and stuff that's there. And now somebody in some office, some like little administrator is going to make the decision for everybody. Mm-hmm. And it can be overruled by somebody just a little bit higher up the chain. You know, you could see a county employee come up and say, schools are open. And then the state employee come up and say, nope, schools are closed. And then Trump comes up and says, nope, schools are open, you know?
Well, then, not only that, though, then the parents could say, no, I don't. You can open them up all you want. I'm not sending my kid in there.
Well,
and the teachers could say, you can do whatever you want, but if you think I'm going to go in there and get sick, you're crazy.
And by the way, I'm still getting paid.
That's right.
And so it'll be interesting to see how that, I mean, that's a lot of forces coming into conflict.
When you think about it, of course, there's a lot of parents. We have a very high poverty level in this county. It's more than normal. It's 23% or something like that, I think, or more. But a lot of kids. Some of these schools, there's 70% of the kids that are free breakfast and lunch.
Right.
And so that's
another issue with centralization. It's everybody. They're dependent on these kids getting the lunch there. And here's the biggest issue of it all, really, is that the parents depend on the kids going someplace for the day that they can feel is safe and secure and supervised so that the parents can go to work. And if somebody can, with the flip of a switch, just turn that off, then they're going to disrupt all of the economic activity that's associated with the parents in terms of their work.
It's the great law of unintended consequences.
That's it. I mean, you tell everybody, no, in an abundance of caution, we're forcing you to stay home. We're forcing your kids. Well, parents are like, well, shit, the hell are I to do? I mean, you hire a daycare? Well, nope, can't do that either. I mean, what do you...
They are opening up, apparently.
Camps?
Somehow, camps. Well, that was another thing. The camps are having a bit of a problem because, you know, around here, a lot of them are day camps, you know.
Right.
And you pay for a day or a week or a month or whatever.
Look, the concept of the school, the camp, the daycare is you have one adult and a bunch of little people. And the little people need supervision. And you can't separate that model. I mean, you can't have it where, oh, we'll just have a bunch of adults. No, those people, those are the parents. You know, if you could do that, you wouldn't need the daycare. I mean, but so you have to have a situation where you bundle the kids together. And how are they gonna do that if they try to prevent individuals from making the decisions?
Well, what they're doing here, they've got what they call a three-pronged approach. Two of them are online and one of them is in person, but they still don't have a clue on who's going to do what. I mean, and they're getting, you know, they're going to open up here in about a month.
How can you supervise? You can't supervise a kid through the computer. Hey, quit Johnny, quit playing porn on the other computer there.
Well, the other thing they're all panicky about, and I saw this with Jim Gaffigan. He's got 5 kids, and apparently I think most of his kids got their own computers, but not all of them. And so they were moving the computer around from time to time to figure out who was going to get to use it. They had hours where you got to use it and not. So there's going to be some homeschooling. But I would imagine that the parents are going to either start to seriously get on drugs or kill each other.
Seriously, I mean, what do you do? And it's a problem for the kids too. I mean, the socialization that goes along with school.
Right.
This is they throw you.
Well, that's the thing. Where are the bullies going to go bully? I mean,
where's the bully? The lobby, the bully lobby.
The bully lobby. That's right. I mean, Mom, I got a kid over there.
I can't beat up anybody these days.
This is no good.
All I can do is push down my sister. Well, it's interesting. I don't know how they're going to deal with that, but it's.
I don't think they do either. That's the beauty of it.
Well, right. Well,
they're coming out with planned. Well, what's your? Well, we're coming out with a plan. We're gonna have a meeting.
Well, right. They're gonna have a lot of meetings, and a lot of different plans, and then at some point somebody's going to assert their plan. And they did. I see. They are coming out with the law that I predicted from the beginning, which is some type of general shield liability law for employers.
Okay.
When people go back to work or go to their businesses, at some point there will be some you're responsible for your own ass type of law out there because there has to be. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, people have to be able to go about their business, and they just can't continue to keep free, innocent adult Americans locked up and away from their jobs. I mean, it just that can't last, and I can't believe there's not more cracks in the system yet, but people have held on.
Well, they have, because most people are law-abiding, and you pass the law, no matter how silly.
And they've got the $600 a month.
Yeah.
And the $1,200 one time or whatever.
Oh, they're talking about extending the PPP.
I know, and doing another.
And maybe another $1,200. But yeah, I mean, next month, who knows? All right, let me move on here.
Sure.
Protesters clash with police in violent encounter at Chicago's Columbus statue.
Yes.
12 arrested and many injured. About 18 officers were injured, the police said. Some were treated on the scene by paramedics, while other policemen were transported to the hospital.
Right.
Photos and videos of the incident shared on social media showed protesters bleeding from the mouth. At least one protester, and of course here's the anecdotal thing, Miracle Boyd with Good Kids Mad City, an anti-gun violence group, had her teeth knocked out when an officer punched her, according to the video of the assault shared by the organization. The protesters gathered in Grant Park on Friday afternoon for a Black Indigenous Solidarity rally, and they're going to tear down the Columbus statue.
Right.
Organized by more than a dozen Chicago-based organizations. The event was called, quote, "The abolishment of police and the redistribution of funds to the people of Chicago."
Yeah, so there it is.
According to, "We built this country as Black and Indigenous peoples. Our knowledge and labor have been exploited for too long," wrote the organizers on the webpage. And I'm thinking to myself, as you talked about, I think last time was, yeah, you would have been like living in a straw tent, or if your parents hadn't been hauled, great-great-grandparents hadn't been hauled over here.
Yeah, well, look, this is more conflating of peoples. You didn't build shit.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Your great whoever built something, and whatever happened back then is, unless you can trace it forward to now and mount some kind of a lawsuit, then you got nothing. So
it just mentions the abolishment of police and the redistribution of funds. And of course, we've talked about this before. On what basis are those funds going to be redistributed to the people?
Well, right. I mean, you can't have everybody forced to take a 23andMe thing and then distribute it all according to the percentage of your African blood divided by
how
the
many
time
years you've been here.
Right. And your ancestry has been here. Divided again by which sides of your ancestry, and then subtracted out if some of your ancestry was actually a beneficiary of.
Right. That's right. And of course, if you come in here with a very, very light tan, if you're 1/64th
That's right.
black, well, you're considered black.
Right. Now see, and then not even going to consider the old who's going to pay
Right.
situation, which is, of course, there's not a single person alive today who's responsible for any of that stuff. So who are you going to make pay? And I guess some people's answer is the white people.
That's it. That's right. They will. So yeah,
Because they're white.
okay. The last thing I've got
Uh-huh.
before you get started here is: will Native American mascots soon be a thing of the past?
Yeah, interesting.
Washington's name change leaves 4 remaining teams in major American sports leagues that use Native American names and iconography: the Kansas City Chiefs, Atlanta Braves, Cleveland Indians, and the Chicago Blackhawks. So they talked to these people and they said, we're not going to change anything. So now you have to understand that the owner of the Redskins also said a couple of years ago, no chance. We're staying with it.
Yeah.
But the market figured it out.
Yeah.
FedEx and other people withdrawing their support.
Yeah.
And
well, the Redskins of all those is obviously on the shakiest ground because it actually has skin in the name.
That's true.
But I think there's other people. I mean, especially the Blackhawks. I mean, shoot, if you're not sort of knowledgeable about Indian names, you might think that's just a bird.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know? I mean,
Right.
so.
But where does it stop, of course? That's the whole
Well,
thing.
it doesn't. It doesn't ever stop, and that's why you have to put your foot down at some point. Because look, if we judge people by their worst characteristics and the worst associations that they have,
Everybody's
everything is gone. And what people, instead you should judge by the best. You should take the best from the best. They should be celebrating the Braves and the Chiefs. These are Braves. We have a word, brave. It means brave. I mean, that's a good thing.
That's right.
They didn't call themselves the Braves. That was our word for them.
Yes.
So, look, at some point, there's some respect there.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, you have to put your foot down at some point, and you have to say, look, I like Aunt Jemima. I like her. She's a good person. I like her syrup. And I don't care what you say. I don't care who had some horrible association with this situation. That's their world. That's their universe and their association. It doesn't affect me and mine.
Well, are they going to make Aunt Jemima white?
Probably. No, I think they'll just. See, that's the thing. They can't do that because
Racist.
it'd be totally obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be totally obvious at that point that it's all about the racist situation, and then it's a stupid. It's a dumb. It's not a racist.
They're going to
thing.
lighten her up.
They're not gonna have a person. They're not gonna have a person.
Oh, they're not.
No, and in fact, I mean, they're gonna call it like, I mean, something. If they're smart, it won't even be anthropomorphized. It won't even be like a dog or anything. It'll be just like
But is it still
a
gonna be called-
pancake box, a happy pancake box, or
Well, is it still going to be called Aunt Jemima?
No, hell no,
No.
no.
Oh.
Everybody will know. They'll call it mountain pancakes or something. I mean, they'll change it entirely.
That's not going to work. You can't do that.
Well, you can't do it from what standpoint? I mean,
But if you're used to getting Aunt Jemima pancake, if that's what you like, that syrup, and you go in there and suddenly it's not there anymore, it's called something else, you're not going to learn that. I mean, you're just going to...
no. Well, they've destroyed the brand.
Right.
That's what you get.
Okay.
They spent 100 years building a brand,
Yeah.
and they destroyed it. They let it go. They let somebody else commandeer it and taint it and smear it and destroy it. And it's terrible. It's a horrible situation. It's too bad. I mean, that one chick, that one TikTok girl who, this hot singer chick in this cool outfit made this one video, and it's because she looks cool and hot and everything, and she's pouring the Aunt Jemima down the sink, calling it racist, and she made it into, people were like, oh yeah, that's racist. No, it's pancakes. It's breakfast cereal. Nobody ever ate the breakfast cereal and thought anything about slavery. Nobody ever
Well,
did.
she did.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that's in her mind.
Yeah.
It's her own neuroticism. And it's like, you can't let people transfer stuff like that. No, sorry, you don't get to do that. It's like the okay sign. No, it's the okay sign. You don't get to have it. So, anyway, that's that. So, people, you got to fight for your brands.
I guess. Well, yeah. Uncle Ben.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Gone. History.
Too bad.
I remember, I did remember my cousin, Bill 3, as
Could be watching. Hey, Bill.
he could be watching. But I remember he knew if his mother tried to give him rice that wasn't Uncle Ben.
Oh, is that right?
He wouldn't eat it. He said, "This is not Uncle Ben."
That's it.
I'll tell you, it was like what the Japanese do with rice,
Yeah, well, that's real.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you. So, all right, well, what else you got? Anything else? That's
Nope.
it? Okay, well, let's see. Let's see, we talked about that. Okay, well, a couple Law and Order things here real quick. You saw where DHS was picking up people in Portland.
Yes, apparently in plain clothes or something, and putting them in vans.
No. In plain vehicles.
Oh, okay.
They're in Army uniforms with DHS on the side.
Oh, okay.
But they use plain vehicles so they don't scare people off when they drive up.
Okay.
But-
Don't scare. It's certainly not scare when the guy jumps out of the
Well,
van.
too late at that point.
Yeah, I know.
If they see the car though, they can tell their buddies or whatever. But it's interesting. So there are, of course, the mayor of Portland has come out and said this dictatorial powers Trump is using. Now, I just ask you, as a casual observer, does this look like dictatorship to you?
Oh yeah. This is right out of V for Vendetta.
That's right. Trump, in his dictatorial mindset, has taken over the downtown of one city.
Yeah.
And Lafayette Park.
Right. Well, now this is in Portland. What were they doing there? What were the protesters?
Well,
or the rioters, or whatever you want to call
exactly. Look, here's what's going on. Obviously, they've been protesting there for weeks from the beginning, and
right.
somebody is sick of it. Somebody who has a line on some federal authority. It's probably somebody associated with the National Guard or something, and they made a phone call and said, "Get your ass over here and arrest some people because the local cops have been ordered to stand down."
Okay.
And the Portland mayor is of the same mind as the Seattle mayor, which is cops and authorities just inflame the situation.
Right.
We've got a situation here, we don't want to inflame it, so we don't want no authorities involved. They're just going to let the fire burn out.
Yeah.
And that's a stupid idea it just emboldens the criminal element in a huge way is what it does. And so somebody stepped in. But my point is that if Trump were anything like a dictator, do you think he'd stop at one city?
Oh yeah, right. No, obviously not.
Obviously not.
Well, of course, everything gets blamed on Trump.
No,
so.
I know, but I'm just saying on its face.
Yeah.
If you substitute any dictator in history,
Yeah.
and ask yourself, would they stop at bagging a few people in Portland?
Right.
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
So now, and then at the same time, people are saying, well, we want Trump to provide some leadership
Right.
on the COVID issue. For example, I guess, a national mask order or something.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that they imply that they want, when at the same time, or I don't want to conflate people, but there's this in the same group, people are saying we don't want him to act dictatorial. And yet we want somebody at the national level,
Yeah.
I guess, to issue a stay-at-home or a mask order or something like that. Trump has done what he needed to do, which is he put it off on the states.
Yeah.
And of course they're pitching it like, well, it's in disarray. Well, it's supposed to be in disarray.
Yeah.
The whole point is different states are supposed to make up their minds differently so that everybody can see we've got different ways to do it. People can pick the best one after they get some results back. And that's the same you could do with the schools or any decentralized system, but you can't do it if there's a one-size-fits-all. So it's interesting. In Kentucky, there is a couple who have been ordered to wear leg monitors
And the reason is
because one of them tested positive for COVID.
okay.
And there was no information about the other one, so I'm guessing they did not.
Okay.
So this couple tested positive, and they agreed to the stay-at-home order, but they refused to sign the stay-at-home order monitoring contract with their health department. That is, they're asked to stay at home, and they're given a piece of paper. Here, sign this, like a ticket. And the girl was like, no, I'm not signing that.
Okay.
And they said, well, then we're slapping an ankle monitor on you.
Okay.
The judge put ankle monitors on both of them. There's pictures going around the internet right now.
Oh God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, now, so it's interesting. Now, so here are unhealthy people, so to speak. Now, at least one of them has at least one positive test. Now, that doesn't confirm it or anything like that, but there's some indication that she's positive and wouldn't comply 100% with this order to sign the paper. So, and all of a sudden they're on lockdown, literally, with ankle monitors.
So in other words, if she'd signed the paper,
Right.
then what you?
Then they have to call the health department every time they want to go anywhere.
Okay.
And they have to notify them where they're going and what they're doing and how long and all that kind of stuff. They have to check in. They have a babysitter from the state. Now that's the sick girl, okay? But apparently the guy who has done nothing wrong, violated no laws, and not tested positive is in the same boat.
Okay.
Now, I mean, if you want to talk about state dictatorial powers and stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, now compare that with the situation that we have all over the place, where they're locking people who have not tested anything in their homes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've not tested anything positive or negative. They're locking people in their homes. I mean, you can see very quickly how there's not a lot of freedom there.
Well, one of the things that I found interesting on a lot of this is how many people are saying that you should even wear these things outside. And
Right.
when I drive around town here, I'm stunned at the number of people who are basically alone. And they're wearing their mask, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what do you're not going to infect anybody. I mean, I forget exactly what it was, but the idea is somehow if you brush past somebody, that you automatically infect them, and it's just
Well, it's not automatic. I mean, you could see if you're brushing past people, but there's people out there who aren't brushing past anybody. I mean, who are driving around in their cars,
in
like
their
you
car.
said.
Yeah,
and
when I
by-
see somebody
by
in their car, I
yourself.
think, you idiot.
Well, look, I don't. Anybody wants to wear it, whatever. That's fine. But the concept of ordering innocent people to do stuff has got to be revealed as unconstitutional pretty soon here, because if they order all the kids to stay home, this thing could get way out of control.
Well, the
even
other thing,
further.
of course, is that it turned out they're finding, of course, that some kids, I think a very, very small percentage might be infected a little bit or something. But basically, if you're under under 15 or under 20, the chances of you being infected is almost zero.
Yeah, they're still worried about them passing it around and then bringing it back to grandma. I mean, they apparently, according to at least one source I heard, that's what happened in Israel when Israel reopened the schools. The
Oh, is that right?
kids passed it around. It got back to some adults who then circulated it with other adults, and they had a little resurgence again. But look, that's going to happen unless the vaccine works. Unless they come up with a vaccine, lickety-split, and it works, then you're going to get this. But maybe people, that's what they're waiting for. I mean, you can't fault them for waiting at least another couple of weeks. So,
Well, if this vaccine's not ready till Christmas, they're going to maybe make everybody lock down till Christmas. Good
Well,
luck on that.
yeah, exactly. I don't see that happening.
No Christmas shopping for you.
Another little law enforcement stuff real quick. Speaking of Kentucky, in Saudi Arabia, Miss Kentucky was sent, a former Miss Kentucky was sent to prison for 2 years for exchanging sexual photos with a teen. Oh, wait a minute, did I say Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
I meant West Virginia,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
This is a former West Virginia just sent a former Miss Kentucky to prison for 2 years. And then she's on probation for 10, but she goes to prison for 2 years.
Is she a sex offender?
Yes, for life.
Registered? Oh,
Yes.
really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
And that's in America.
I still thought of not Saudi Arabia. Okay. That's why you made that mistake. So how old was she?
She's 29.
Now.
Yeah.
Okay, but she was Miss,
And-
when was she Miss Kentucky? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, 21 or 2, whatever.
Yeah.
But the point is that, look, here's my question to this is so out of control. America is so out of control with our sex or puritanism here. What's the damage? How much damage was done to the kid? This is a teen, right?
Okay.
So this is at least a 13-year-old saw pictures.
Hard to believe, because where would you find pictures
Well,
like that?
yeah, where would you find?
I mean, wait, let me get this straight.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm confused. Here's the kid. He's on his computer.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
And he goes
He's
from.
scrolling through the porn.
Yeah, and suddenly this picture
He gets
comes
an email
up.
from his teacher.
Right, and then, holy smokes! Now I'm offended.
That's right. Yeah. It's
I'm surprised they're not arresting all those thousands of women that are on Pornhub or whatever it is.
well, don't tempt them. Yeah, look,
They closed down.
the pendulum has been swinging in this direction for a while, and it's out of control, and it really is. With it, look, I don't, and I guess, now you've got the Jeffrey Epstein thing and the Weinstein thing and all this Me Too thing, all this kind of stuff, and everybody's watching out for the kids, and you've got the on the reverse end, you've got it's perfectly okay to sexualize a kid with a drag show. Like, that's no problem.
Right. Oh God. Yeah.
You can strip. You can have a guy strip down in front of a 7-year-old, with all this kind of stuff. But you can't show them a picture.
Yeah.
If they're
Well,
14.
One of the most famous drag person right now is a guy who's like 12 or 14 or 16.
Oh, the little kid, little Desmond or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about him a bunch of
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
But that little kid is actually a super fashionista person.
I know.
And I mean, look, he's living his life, whatever. But my point is that we have far too strict laws against people for things like pictures. This is, I'm shocked that we're all going to spend all this time and energy and money to put Miss Kentucky, of all people, behind jail. Doesn't she get the hot girl defense? Come on.
Yeah.
Another real quick law enforcement thing. 87 people were charged with felony intimidation of a prosecutor because they went to protest the prosecutor who is in charge of the Breonna Taylor case.
Oh, right. Now that's she was the one that was killed
By a no-knock warrant.
No-knock warrant, right.
Right. Okay, so the police went in there, killed her, whatever. It's a horrible situation. Somebody should have been charged. Whatever. That's why you don't have no-knock freaking warrants.
Right.
Okay? And also why you train police officers better than that when they're going for a house raid. House raid officers should have another level of training. And so, anyway, these protesters decided it wasn't good enough to go to his office, so they went to his house.
Okay.
Now, they did not do what the people in St. Louis did, which is parade and up and down in front of the house. And,
Okay.
and be noisy. They actually sat down in a very peaceful sort of way.
Okay.
They still all got charged with felony intimidation.
Felony.
Right. Now, to me,
I didn't even know that was a thing.
oh, sure, sure, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, and but and if my thought is if they'd gone to his office, they'd all been fine.
Okay.
But it turned. I mean, look, when you show up at somebody's house with a crowd of people, they are in imminent danger.
Okay.
Whatever else you want to say.
Yeah.
If you want to, you can storm the house, bust down the doors, drag them out, kill them, burn the house. There's nothing. They can't stop you. If there's 20 of you and 20 of them and one of you, you're done. So, really, if you want to protect yourself, the only thing you can do is start mowing them down from wherever your vantage position is.
Yeah.
If you think they're going to attack you. So now these people weren't, I don't think, presenting any threat, and one would hope that the judge would take that into account. The same with the St. Louis couple, but you never know. You never know if they're placing leg monitors on people.
Yeah.
For doing that. All right, and then as we go out here, I will show. This thing was covered last week. The image from the National African American Museum.
Okay.
You heard about that?
Yeah, yeah.
Thing, right? So yeah, let me just put this up here. See if I got it here. Maybe it's this one. Yes. Okay, so now, look, normally I wouldn't give this thing any credit because it's so off the rails. But this was done by one of our national museums. Somebody hired some poor person. I say poor because what a life you must have if this is what you think. I mean, this person is just mired in racism if they think
Oh,
this.
yeah.
And it's just amazing, this the stuff that they're talking about here. Let's see. I'll go this one. I mean, look at this. You can't even assault about 80% of the things in here. Stuff like self-reliance. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I love one of these down here is a couple. I'll just do my favorites real quick because this is just so crazy. Plan for the future is one of these.
Is that a white thing?
Yeah, that's supposed to be a white thing.
Racist.
Right. Well, like as if like there's an alternative. Be number one. Like, what's the alternative there? Be number two. Here's the other one I love: is must always do something about a situation.
Well, that's specific.
Yeah.
Well, that nails it right down.
Well, and what's the alternative? Nah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Slack off. Just do whatever. It's just amazing. And somebody got paid for this. There's a person who has a job making this thing, and it's presented at one of our national museums as a thing. I mean, they put some effort into it. This thing's got graphics. I mean, not a lot, but it's got something. And different fonts and things. It's just oh my God.
Well, they had this reminds me of what the Alligator, I think I mentioned this before, the newspaper of record for the university, the student newspaper, had huge editorial op-ed piece, about this senior who was graduating, and he said that he had been intimidated all during when he walked past the rights union, who was a racist, slaveholder, whatever it was, and he said he just felt he hadn't wanted to throw up every time he walked past this.
That's neuroses, man.
Well, what I'm saying is, you did this for 4 years and you didn't transfer out. You know, you could have gone to Florida A&M up here.
Yeah, exactly.
If you'd wanted to.
Yeah, well, there's probably, the thing is, for a guy like that, there's probably not a school he could go to that didn't have some kind of.
Well, Florida A&M, I'll bet.
That one probably, actually.
The Rattlers.
That's it. Woohoo! All right. Hey, thanks, Kevin MacLeod, for this track. We really appreciate it. Where's my track here?
What happened?
Well,
You lost it.
Yeah. I lost track of my track. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. We appreciate it. Share with your friends.
Give us a like on YouTube.
Yep. Subscribe if you dare. So, we'll see you soon. On the 22nd.